Neighbors of a quiet Scarborough complex in shock today after a woman was found dead inside a townhouse early this morning. The man who called police led away in handcuffs and taken into custody. Good evening. Yellow crime tape blocks the steps of the home, shattering the sense of safety for surrounding residents.
Homicide detectives spent the day trying to figure out what led to the killing. CTV's Mike Walker is live and has the very latest. Mike.
Well, Nathan Zaretta, police arrested a 43-year-old man here at the scene. They say he called 911, indicating he caused harm to an individual here. A forensic investigator removes a bag of evidence from a Scarborough home where a woman was found dead early this morning.
We don't know what weapons, if any, were used, but ultimately the force that was inflicted upon her was enough to cause her death.
Police say the alleged suspect made the 911 call around 4 this morning.
A man in his 40s who had stated that he had caused harm to another individual, a resident of this building.
And was waiting for responding officers outside the Scarborough Golf Club Road housing complex. A neighbor's security video shows the suspect being arrested by police, a 43-year-old man handcuffed sitting on the steps.
He didn't appear to be in a state of medical crisis.
Neighbors in this quiet complex are reeling, saying they didn't hear any commotion.
I was confused. I just woke up and, police started knocking on my door, but it was, I'm just very confused right now, so.
It's so sad because we're here for so many years and we didn't hear anything like that before.
I'm surprised. I don't even know what to say. I'm just as speechless.
They believe a couple lived in the unit. Police say it was the victim's home, but have not disclosed the relationship between the victim and suspect, only to say they are known to one another.
But in terms of how involved they are, it's still part of that investigation, but we're hoping to determine exactly how long they've known each other and what the extent of the relationship is.
Homicide and forensic investigators spent the day inside the home collecting evidence while officers canvassed the area for witnesses. Police are still trying to determine a motive and how the woman died, but say this is an isolated incident. Now, at this point, police have not released the names of the suspect and victim as they are still trying to contact the family. At this point, there's also no word on charges. Reporting live in Scarborough, Mike Walker. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Mike. All southbound lanes of the 400 have now reopened at Finch following a fatal crash. OPP say a BMW slammed into the back of a truck just before the 400 ends at Highway 401. One person in the BMW died. 3 other people got out of the car and fled. Police are still looking for the people who were in the BMW.
Still ahead, as measles cases continue to spread, people are turning to private clinics to get the vaccine fast. We'll have more on that a little later in the newscast. Well, if you're hoping to visit any of the city's outdoor skating rinks, time is running out. The city confirming today that any artificial ice rinks and skating trails still in operation will be closed before or on Sunday. The warmer than usual winter weather helping to prompt this timing, although the city says there was no drop in use of its outdoor rinks, which were used more than 500,000 times this season. Officials are advising anyone planning to visit an outdoor rink to check the status first online.
And we've got more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city tonight. Gray skies and the rain has arrived. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Jessica.
Hi, it's going to be steady rain for the rest of our evening, so just keep that in mind. It will impact the drive home for many. We saw people skating yesterday in T-shirts. A much different story with our forecast today. Still warm, but not holding on to that same kind of 20-degree temperature anomaly that we had yesterday. Even with the rain, it's still relatively mild. We're kind of in those mid-single digits, 8 through London, 5 in Hamilton, 10 in Peterborough. As we head through the rest of our evening, it does cool down a little bit, but we remain above that seasonal norm between 8 and 7 degrees through the islands and through Pearson. Tonight, the low is at 5. The rain continues. Coming up, a full look at your long-range forecast. Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. Concern is growing as measles cases continue to spread, with 8 confirmed cases in Ontario.
The sense of urgency is leading many to turn to private clinics to get vaccinated against the disease. CTV Sean Lethang is reporting live in Etobicoke tonight and brings us the details. Sean.
Well, Zaretta and Nathan, I spoke to the owner of a private clinic today who said that many people were unsure of their vaccination status. And in order to get a vaccine through the public system, they'd have to do a blood test. They'd have to wait, then get both doses of their vaccine before being able to travel. They said they didn't want to, so they're willing to pay.
With Ontario now having more measles cases than in all of 2023, some private clinics are experiencing an increase in vaccine requests.
What we're seeing is a massive rise in the MMR vaccine.
Andrew Cisnet is the president of Summit Health, a private vaccine clinic for travelers. He says it's rare for his clinic to administer the MMR vaccine, but recently travelers who are unsure of their vaccine status are willing to pay the $75.
In the last week alone, we've had 15. We've got another 2 coming in today. So it's a massive spike.
There are 8 lab-confirmed measles cases in Ontario as of yesterday, with the latest 2 being in the Simcoe area and another confirmed by Hamilton Public Health.
We have publicly notified regarding exposures related to a flight arriving in Toronto from Saudi Arabia, as well as an exposure in the Pearson Airport.
In the latter case, travelers who were at Pearson Terminal 3 on March 5th between 3:25 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. may have been exposed.
Measles is the most contagious virus that we know of, so containing the spread is challenging.
Dr. Don Bowdish from McMaster University says measles kills immune cells, hurting someone's ability to fight off other infections.
So what happens during a measles infection, you get this sort of peak of infection, the rash, the high fever, and you're also losing your very white blood cells or your immune cells that would normally protect you. During this period, people, especially children, become really vulnerable to other bacterial infections.
In some cases, COVID-19 disrupted some children's vaccination schedule, so doctors are now urging parents to make sure their kids are caught up. The vaccine is covered by OHIP and can be booked through your family doctor or by contacting your local public health unit. Andrew Cisnet says because his patients are unsure, they would have to get a blood test to go through the public system.
So what they're saying is they're happy to pay privately for that vaccine just because they can't wait to get the blood test results and then get the vaccine after that through the public system.
He says they've even had to procure more supply to meet the high demand.
He also says that where people are traveling has been different when asking for this vaccination. He said mostly in the past, vaccinations come from people who may be traveling overseas, but he says it's quite frequent for people to be asking for the MMR vaccine just to travel to the United States. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Right, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. And Ontario Health Minister Sylvia Jones says the province is making sure that there will be measles vaccine available.
We have procured additional vaccines, measles vaccines, if needed, so there should be no issue in terms of accessing vaccinations. The Chief Medical Officer of Health in February issued a directive to all 34 public health units reminding them what we have said basically for the last 2 years, which is you need to focus and catch up on childhood vaccinations in particular. And when these outbreaks happen, I mean, Ontario, 15 million people, there are, I believe, the latest numbers are 8 cases, but still concerning. So we need to make sure that they have the resources, which they do, and that we're encouraging people to double check their vaccinations.
The minister's comments came in Hamilton today while making an announcement on healthcare-related credits in high school. Sylvia Jones says all local health units send reminder letters to families if a child needs to catch up on their vaccinations.
And Toronto Public Health says measles vaccine appointments can be made online at one of 3 clinics. The online calendar is located at tphbookings.ca. There's a clinic located at the North York Civic Centre, the Etobicoke Civic Centre, and the Scarborough Civic Centre.
The fight to save the beloved Science Centre from being relocated continued today.
A group of opposition party members and community leaders are putting their heads together, trying to find new ways to force the Premier to stop the move. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is standing by live and has more. Siobhan.
Well, Nathan, there is an action plan. We don't know what it entails just yet. This group not ready to share those details, but they are making clear that this fight is far from over.
The Ontario Science Centre has lived at Don Mills in Eglinton since it opened in 1969. Today, opposition party MPPs and community leaders tried to find new ways to keep it there.
We are putting Premier Ford and Minister Surma on notice, and their failure to reverse their decision will result in a multifaceted course of action that will be impossible to ignore.
Shamji isn't ready to share that course of action. The plan is to eventually close the Science Centre, shrink it, and shift it to the edge of Lake Ontario, part of a revamped Ontario Place. A proposal opponents say doesn't work for anyone.
Not kids, not teachers, not parents, not the 400-plus employees. Many of them will lose their jobs.
There's concern for the loss of access to science education, with time to be tacked on in transit.
The Science Centre is actually an extension of their classroom. Kids walk to that science center with their teachers. They enjoy the outdoor environment. They enjoy the exhibits.
An Infrastructure Ontario business case has laid out that the science center needs a lot of TLC, is underused and out of date.
The only justification for this is to try to cover up the taxpayer waste of money on the Ontario Place deal.
The business case says moving the science center could help counter perceptions of privatization of Ontario Place because of the spa being built there. The footprint of the new science center will be smaller.
You're getting half of what you have. As Ontarians, that should be disturbing. It certainly is to me.
The government insists it will fit more exhibition space into a smaller footprint, but for opponents, the numbers don't add up.
It's going to cost somewhere around $500 million. That's $300 million more than just maintaining or addressing the maintenance backlog at the Science Centre.
Ontario has agreed to maintain some kind of science programming at Don Mills and Eglinton after the Science Centre moves.
Minister Kinga Surma is defending the savings she says will come from this move. She also says that 25% of the current Science Centre is being used for programming. That will go up to 40% in the new location. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Siobhan. Still ahead, with eyes on the skies for the solar eclipse next month, hotels on both sides of the border at the Falls are gearing up for a tourism boom. More on that coming up. The man accused of killing 6 people at an Ottawa home last week made a brief court appearance today.
The suspect is being held in protective custody following the attack that caused shock and grief in the community. CTV's Katie Griffin reports.
After a brief court appearance on Thursday, new information about the man accused in Ottawa's worst mass killing.
I can comment that he's in protective custody. He's doing okay.
19-year-old Fabio De Zoysa appeared over the phone. He's charged with 6 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder.
I have been in touch with his family. They're obviously very upset.
The bodies of 6 people were discovered inside this Barrhaven townhome on March 6th. 5 were members of the Wickramasinghe family: 7-year-old Anuka, 4-year-old Ashwini, 3-year-old Renea, 2-month-old Kelly, along with their mother Darshini. Their father was injured but survived. 40-year-old family friend Gamini Amarakun was also killed. All were newcomers to Canada from Sri Lanka. CTV News has learned the primary weapon used in the attack was similar to a hunting knife. The suspect was an international student who previously went to Algonquin College. He was living with the family.
De Zoysa's lawyer says his client came to Canada a few years ago, but couldn't say how long he'd been living with the family.
De Zoysa's next court appearance is scheduled for March 28th. Katie Griffin, CTV News.
Canada is pulling some embassy staff out of Haiti as the situation there worsens.
The country is in crisis with criminal gangs, a growing humanitarian catastrophe, and a government in freefall. CTV's Mike Locouture reports.
Smoke wafts from Haiti's National Penitentiary. It follows a reported jailbreak orchestrated by armed gangs in the capital, Port-au-Prince. The situation deteriorating. Canada has relocated most staff from the embassy, and they will now continue their duties from the Dominican Republic.
It is not easy, the humanitarian and security catastrophe that's going on in Haiti right now.
Canadian officials wouldn't say exactly how many were airlifted out of the country, but did say between 10 and 50% of the team remains behind. While Canada's embassy is closed, the ambassador, essential staff, and additional security remain behind.
Canadian staff also stay in their house, in their quarters, and nobody is going to the embassy.
According to Global Affairs Canada, just under 3,000 Canadian citizens are in Haiti right now. They have all been instructed to shelter in place or limit movements, with gangs controlling up to 80% of the capital. The airport is closed, so Canadians like David Rochelot are left in limbo.
We have no departure date yet. All the airlines have canceled all the flights out. So
Rochelot is about half an hour south of the violence that has gripped the capital for months and led to the resignation of Prime Minister Ariel Henry. Kenya has agreed to lead an international police force to restore order, but only once a transitional presidential council is created. And locals say any new leadership should be chosen by Haitians. Canadian officials say there are no evacuation or repatriation flights scheduled to get Canadians out of Haiti, but they are developing plans in case that becomes necessary. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
And in Ottawa, another partner in the main ArriveCAN contractor appeared before a parliamentary committee today.
Auditor General of Canada is wrong, and you are right. That's your contention today. Yes.
Auditor General Karen Hogan said the ArriveCAN app cost Canadians more than $60 million. Yesterday, GC Strategies partner Christian Firth disputed her report. He said that his company was paid about $11 million, with all but $2.5 million going to other contractors hired for development.
We learned today the federal government ordered a national security review of TikTok Canada in September. It looked at a proposal to expand the short video app's business in the country. Canada banned the platform from government-issued devices last year. Officials said it presents an unacceptable risk to privacy and security. The review conducted in September was focused only on TikTok's investment plan, so it's unlikely to result in an outright ban like the one proposed in the U.S. The House of Representatives voted to force TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance to sell the American assets of the app or face a ban. Today, former U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin announced he's putting together an investor group to buy TikTok.
A government source says Canada has paused non-lethal military exports to Israel since January. That's because of the rapidly evolving situation on the ground. In Gaza, a jetty is being built on the shore in preparation for the arrival of aid. A ship with 200 tons of supplies is approaching the territory after leaving Cyprus a couple of days ago. It is part of a pilot project. Airdrops are continuing as well, but experts say the best way to deliver the most aid is by truck. The UN has warned 1/4 of the population is on the brink of famine. Meanwhile, a high-ranking U.S. senator is calling for an election in Israel.
Even in his heart, he has his highest priority is the security of Israel. However, I also believe Prime Minister Netanyahu has lost his way by allowing his political survival to take the precedence over the best interests of Israel.
Schumer called Netanyahu an obstacle to peace. The Israeli government rejected Schumer's comment, saying it expects the largest democracy in the world to respect Israeli democracy.
The head of NATO is calling on member countries to do more to help Ukraine.
The Ukrainians are not running out of courage. They are running out of ammunition. Together, we have the capacity to provide Ukraine what it needs. Now we need to show the political will to do so. All allies need to dig deep and deliver quickly. Every day of delay has real consequences.
The NATO Secretary General says a significantly reduced weapons supply from the West is one of the reasons Russia has been able to make some advances on the battlefield.
In Florida, a federal judge has rejected a bid by Donald Trump to throw out his classified documents criminal case. The judge said even though the Trump team had raised various arguments warranting serious consideration, a dismissal of charges was not merited. She made it clear earlier in the day that she was reluctant to dismiss one of the 4 criminal cases against Trump.
The largest, most powerful rocket ever built completed nearly an entire test flight today. The Starship rocket lifted off from South Texas this morning. It made it much further than 2 previous flights, but SpaceX controllers lost communication during atmospheric re-entry. The rocket was lost, presumably either burning up or coming apart during re-entry. Still, Starship was able to cruise through low orbit during its flight. It is designed to eventually carry astronauts to the moon and beyond.
Banff has been named one of the most beautiful towns in the world. The Alberta tourism hotspot is the lone Canadian destination to make the list from Time Out magazine. The article describes Banff as postcard perfect. It's Canada's oldest national park, nestled in the Rocky Mountains and surrounded by stunning lakes such as Lake Louise.
Coming up, preparations are underway to make the most of the solar eclipse next month. Niagara Falls will have an ideal view of the rare celestial event, and they are ready for tourists to flock there. Details ahead.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, if you're trying to borrow money but don't have a good credit rating, you might see loan offers online. But be careful you don't get caught in the advance fee loan scam. One man just lost more than $9,000. I'll have my reports just ahead.
Although we saw a 10-degree difference between yesterday and today, we remained above the seasonal norm. We topped out just around 11 degrees very briefly today. Cooler than yesterday, that 20 degrees, but still above that seasonal average of 5. We are cooling down heading into the weekend. I'll have all those details in a moment, and stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
It is Fraud Prevention Month, and we've been looking at scams you need to watch out for. Tonight, we examine the advance fee loan scam.
In a time when many people are feeling the financial pressures, they may go online looking for a loan, which turns out to be fraudulent. Pat Foran has the story on Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Zoraida and Nathan. A Cambridge man wanted a loan to help him get his finances back in order, and he was pleased to find a loan company online. He was told to pay in advance more than $9,000 in fees, and then the loan never happened.
When is the money going to show up? And I've still received no response.
Zach Byrne of Cambridge wanted to get a loan to pay off his car and save for an apartment. He went online and found a company called Livron Financial Services. It guaranteed loans even with bad credit, so Byrne decided to apply.
I was told I was approved for the amount of $50,000, and as part of the contract that was drawn up, I had to put $5,000 down as collateral for the security deposit.
Byrne paid the $5,000, but then was told he needed to pay additional charges for currency conversion, insurance, and processing fees, but he still never got the loan.
I heard nothing back. I kept asking for updates on where the money was, and they just went ghost mode on me. I did not hear anything back.
CTV News contacted Livron, but our emails and calls were not returned, and the phone number given to Byrne is no longer in service. Byrne was scammed out of $9,100. The Better Business Bureau says you should never have to pay in advance to secure a loan.
They can't access the typical lenders, so they're desperate to get some type of lending, and these scammers prey on that.
These ads are all over the place. They're on social media.
The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre says to avoid the advance fee loan scam, beware if a loan is guaranteed and a credit check is not necessary. If you're asked to pay fees or a deposit in advance, such as insurance or processing charges, and if the company doesn't exist at a physical address. Fraudulent loan companies may pop up first in a Google search.
Which means if the victim goes on the search engine and looks up, bad credit loan, there's a good chance that the first 5 to 10 results we're seeing are going to be fraudulent websites.
Byrne says he was counting on the loan to get his finances back in order and is now in a worse off financial position.
Honestly, this has been taking a complete toll on me and my mental health.
And Canadians lost more than $3.5 million to loan scams last year, but that is only what was reported to the Anti-Fraud Centre. Its expected total losses involving the scam were much higher. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Pretty mild out there. The rain is coming down. Feels like spring.
It does, although I'm thinking more so yesterday. There's a pretty big difference.
Yeah. We have almost a 10 or 11 degree difference really right across the board. And although it's still above seasonal, the wind direction makes such a difference. It was so warm yesterday. A more northerly flow today has it feeling a little fresh, a little damp, a little cool. All the other ways you can describe the weather not being as warm as it was yesterday. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. A beautiful kind of sunny-ish start to the day, and then that really kind of dissipated through the late morning, early afternoon as cloud cover settled in. I guess the good news is we remain mild. I know a lot of folks are still really busy this week with it being March break for so many, but it has definitely kind of dampened things with the rain rolling in this afternoon. Still sitting at 7 here in the city, 14 through Windsor, 12 in Ottawa. Sudbury still sitting at 10 degrees. So even with this rain, we haven't seen a drastic drop in temperatures. And tonight, still above seasonal. It'll be at about 5 degrees. We should be at -4. Bancroft should be at -9. Over towards Hamilton, they should be at -5. So everybody holding on to just a little bit of this warmth. Getting into the day tomorrow, not a brilliantly sunny day, but we do dry up just in time for our Friday. We'll see some peaks of sun here and there, and still a double-digit daytime high. We'll be 5 degrees above the seasonal average, and that's almost the same story really right across the board. A little cooler up towards Orillia, Bancroft, but overall we're decent, as we head in towards the end of the week. We're in the thick of it now with this line of showers that really is kind of sandwiched between a couple of different cold fronts and warm fronts, and it's going to just sit with us through the early part of our night and in towards midnight. And then getting into Friday, we do get a bit of a reprieve, a break. As we head in towards the kind of early part of our night and towards about midnight, that's the bulk of this rain, along with the risk of some thunderstorms. After that, it pushes out, and we have a little cloud cover to start the day with a few peaks of sun here and there. So it's not a completely gloomy day, but at least it's dry. As we kind of head through the end of the week, maybe a lot of folks driving back if they were on a bit of a road trip. Starting off our Saturday, it won't be all that bad. We are staying relatively dry until kind of the late afternoon, early evening. Another round of showers, a little lighter this time around, making its way through. But the round of showers that we're in currently, we're looking at, by the time we wrap up tomorrow, about 14, 15 millimeters for us here in the city, and really right around the Golden Horseshoe for the most part, around that 15 to 20 millimeter range. Temperature-wise, even as we cool down heading into the weekend, at least for our daytime highs, we stay above seasonal. The only time we really get close to any kind of seasonal temperature throughout the entire weekend is going to be our Sunday night. Again, Saturday, not bad. We watch for those showers to kind of roll in through the afternoon and evening. And then as we get in towards Sunday, as it kind of lingers and temperatures drop, we're going to see that turn into the likelihood of a little mixing. Not a ton in the way of accumulation, but again, it's a busy travel weekend with folks heading back after March break for so many. So just keep that in mind and factor that into your drive, and always drive according to the road and weather conditions. Plus, it is St. Patrick's Day, so that's a busy one for a lot of people as well. So just give yourself time. Be careful with everything. As we get in towards Monday, it is going to get a little bit messy and cool down, but by the time we get to Tuesday, we welcome in the spring season. Officially, it will be very, very seasonal. Zoraida, Nathan.
Thank you, Jessica. Niagara Falls has long been a world-famous destination to witness the wonders of nature.
But as millions turn their eyes to the skies for next month's solar eclipse, the falls will have an ideal view of the rare celestial event, and tourists are taking notice. A ranking from travel site Skyscanner says the Niagara Falls are already the most visited tourist attraction in the world. But now those numbers are expected to get a major boost leading into April 8th, when a total eclipse of the sun crosses North America.
Very excited. We've known about it obviously for a couple of years now. It's been on our radar that it's coming up, and now it's coming quickly. So we're excited. All the special events planned for that day, they're all coming into sharp focus now, and we're looking forward to hosting lots of visitors.
Toronto will be slightly out of the path, where the moon will completely block the sun's rays for several minutes. But National Geographic rated Niagara Falls the #1 place to view the eclipse, and tourists are taking notice.
Well, I just happened to be thinking of coming to Canada at some point in the spring and then noticed there was a total eclipse happening, so I thought I'd coincide the trip.
Local officials say they're not sure exactly how many people will turn up, but it could be around 1 million.
That day, the weather, of course, will have a big impact on how many people arrive, because we're within a day's drive of half the population of North America. So a lot of people can come here in a short period of time. We're going to have NASA here. We're going to have the Canadian Space Agency.
Tourists are booking up hotels for the nights surrounding next month's eclipse, and it looks like that demand is prompting sky-high prices. For example, the cost of a night for 2 adults at Fallsview Casino Resort's website mostly hovers around $300 to $500 a night in the coming weeks before taxes and fees. But on April 7th, it stands at $869, around triple some of the earlier nights. If you'd like to head to the U.S. side of the border, you can book a Seneca Solar Escape package at Seneca Niagara Casino. 2 queen beds for just under $1,300 Canadian. Officials say that's unfortunately the result of supply and demand.
It's a luxury item. I mean, it's no different than buying parking or renting parking. If you go to the Rogers Center, or you want to catch a Blue Jay or a Toronto Maple Leaf game, you're going to pay more on game day. It's just the way it is. And I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm just saying that's just the way it is.
Local officials say there will be extra GO train service to Niagara on the day of the eclipse. And for those not looking to dish out hundreds on a hotel, they're also planning a special solar eclipse concert headlined by the glorious suns, as the world descends on Niagara Falls for a spectacular show in the sky.
I quite like space. My partner's a little bit more keen on space, but yeah, I've just always wanted to see a total eclipse, and just this, clearly the planets have literally aligned for this.
And Canada Post is marking the approaching eclipse with a new stamp. The stamp commemorates the celestial event and notes a number of locations, including Niagara Falls, where there will be totality, as in the moon will completely cover the sun. Canada Post says this is its first stamp to feature a solar eclipse. There won't be a repeat occurrence over North America for 20 years. Experts advise proper eye protection when looking directly at the sun.
Still ahead, a new form of a bank scam is seeing a dramatic rise in York region. We have the details after the break. York Regional Police are warning the public about a new kind of scam aimed at accessing victims' bank card information. Police say they've been receiving calls from residents since late last year about suspects posing as bank investigators. The victims are told their debit or credit cards have been compromised, and they're asked to share their card numbers and PINs over the phone for verification. Police say the suspects sometimes send someone to pick the cards up, and illegal purchases are made with the payment details. We're now joined live by Constable Lisa Moskaluk with York Regional Police for more details on this scam and how to avoid falling victim to similar schemes. Thank you for joining us, officer. So what kind of complaints are you hearing?
Well, we've had since December 9 reports of this particular scam. It's not a new scam, but there's a certain element to it that is new, and that's that the suspects will actually attend the victim's home. So it will start by a phone call. They'll get a call from the bank saying that an unauthorized charge or some unauthorized transactions have happened on their credit cards or in their bank accounts. And in order to verify everything, they start to ask for personal information, such as their address, their full name, things that would typically you would need to assist in obtaining more secure things like your credit card. They'll ask for your credit card number as well, and then further they'll ask for the PIN numbers for those credit cards. And as I say, since December, we've seen 9 reports of them actually attending the victims' homes. This is a pretty shocking and appalling thing for them to do. They'll turn up at their home as a bank representative or a courier. They'll ask for those cards, and then within hours of retrieving those cards, they already have all the information they need. They'll rack up thousands of dollars worth of transactions fraudulently.
You know, it's like they're doing everything banks don't typically do. How much money's been stolen?
From one victim alone, upwards of $25,000. That particular victim had also actually handed over 3 of their debit or credit cards, all with the same PIN number.
Thank you so much, Constable Lisa Moskaluk with York Regional Police. Thanks again.
Thank you.
The government wants to look into possible links between video games and extremism. Ottawa is giving researchers $300,000 to examine how gaming communities can potentially create environments conducive to radicalization and violent extremism. The study aims to look at how identities are formed for both individuals and groups of gamers, investigating how misogyny can connect violent extremist ideologies across geography and culture.
The TTC says repair work on lines 1 and 2 that have reduced train speeds in several areas should be complete by the end of the month. TTC spokesperson Stuart Green says of the 21 reduced speed zones implemented in January, there are 7 remaining. Trains have to slow down after the TTC found that sections of the track had what they call state of good repair needs. The reduced speeds have added to travel times, irking some passengers.
As the TTC deals with the vast number of seagulls at a streetcar maintenance facility, they are planning to fight a noisy challenge with a noisy solution. The TTC estimates 10 to 15,000 seagulls visit and nest at its Leslie Barnes building every year. They're now turning to sound cannons to try and encourage the birds to relocate without harming them. The transit agency says they will be pointed away from residential areas, but people may still hear the sound on occasion.
They do pose a significant health and safety risk. When you get into quantities of, and I apologize to your viewers, but bird feces of that quantity, it can actually pose a significant health risk as well as a slip and fall hazard. We've also had to spend a lot of money cleaning up after these birds. So really what we're doing now is looking at creative ways to keep them from nesting, so deterring them from stopping. We've got some netting up on the roof. That seems to be working quite well.
And as for those sound cannons, the TTC says it will use them to the end of June to align with the seagulls' nesting season.
Looking across the pond, there's set to be some Canadian star power at the top of the marquee for this year's Glastonbury Music Festival. Shania Twain is set to headline the festival along with SZA and a pair of heavy-hitting acts from the UK, Dua Lipa and Coldplay. Glastonbury takes place June 26th through to the 30th. This year, organizers say the list of performers continues to grow.
It is a big night for Swifties who haven't yet snagged a ticket to the singer's Eras tour and didn't catch her concert film in theaters. The Eras Tour Taylor's version begins streaming online tonight, and Disney Plus continues to share previews of Swift's performance, which will include several tracks not shown in cinemas. The 3-hour and 31-minute show goes online at 9 p.m. tonight.
With the Oscars in the rearview mirror, the team behind one of the night's biggest winners is preparing to bring their next film to theaters. Emma Stone won the Academy Award for Best Actress Sunday night for her role in Poor Things. The R-rated sci-fi romance was directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, who also directed Stone in 2017's The Favorite. Deadline reports the pair's next movie, Kinds of Kindness, has secured a release date in June. With buzz, it may debut at the Cannes Film Festival.
Just ahead, the federal minimum wage is set to increase next month. What that means for workers when we return.
On the next CP24 breakfast, Comic-Con is here and we'll tee up the surreal event, and we'll also be getting a visit from Diana Lee Inosanto from the Mandalorian franchise. CP24 breakfast up first at 5:30.
I'm shocked. This is a tranquil neighborhood.
Updating our top stories, neighbors of a Scarborough complex are reeling after a woman was found dead inside a townhome early this morning. A 43-year-old man who made the 911 call has been taken into police custody.
What we're seeing is a massive rise in the MMR vaccine.
As measles cases continue to spread, a private clinic says they've seen an increase in patients coming in for the vaccine. It comes after 8 cases of the disease were confirmed in Ontario.
Efforts to save the Ontario Science Centre continued today. Opposition party MPPs and community leaders met to try to find new ways to keep it at its current location and at Don Mills and Eglinton. The group says they are coming up with multifaceted course of action that will force a reversal of the planned move. That plan has not been revealed to the public quite yet.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
Apple is looking north to help boost its artificial intelligence division. BNN Bloomberg's Amber Canmore has more.
Apple has acquired a Canadian artificial intelligence startup called Darwin AI, according to a report from Bloomberg. The Waterloo-based company's core technologies include making AI systems smaller and faster. The report says that dozens of Darwin AI's employees have joined Apple's AI division. Shares of Apple have been under pressure recently as investors worry they don't have the same artificial intelligence offerings that other tech companies have touted. Revenue and profit in the latest quarter at Sobeys' parent company, Empire, came in slightly below estimates. Still, Empire's net profit rose 8.5% to more than $134 million as sales totaled nearly $7.5 billion in the latest quarter. Major grocers in Canada have come under government scrutiny over price increases at their stores, and Empire said that during the quarter, it continued to comply with the government request to identify ways to help further stabilize prices for consumers. One of the worst performing stocks on the TSX today was vitamin maker Jamieson Wellness. The stock posted its worst drop since 2018 as sales and profit growth failed to live up to expectations. And while the company has seen big growth in markets like China, they've had to increase spending, and that's weighed on the bottom line. The CEO of Jamieson told BNN that they're entering the year from a position of strength while touting growth in its international business, which has doubled to over 40% in the last 3 years. Let's check in on some of the market numbers. The Canadian dollar was a little lower, just below 74 cents US, while oil prices advanced in the US to above $80 per barrel. Canadian oil prices also advanced to just under $64 per barrel, but it was a down day on the TSX, shedding more than 140 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Amber Canwar in the BNN Bloomberg Newsroom.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Loblaws testing receipt scanners at the self-checkout in some stores across the province. The grocery giant says it's an attempt to reduce theft, which has become a growing problem at their stores and across the retail industry. Loblaws says the issue is impacting prices and safety. The 4 test locations are in Oakville, Georgetown, Woodstock, and Windsor. It's unclear how long the pilot will last or if there are plans to expand it. The Retail Council of Canada says incidents of theft that involve violence have increased 300% over the past 4 years.
The federal minimum wage is set to increase next month. Ottawa announcing earlier this year that it would be bumping up the minimum wage for its workers by 65 cents or to about $17.30 an hour. The change impacts workers in federally regulated industries, but has no bearing on the minimum wage set by each province and territory. Ontario's minimum wage changes take place in the fall. In 2023, it was bumped up to $16.55 an hour. The Ford government has pledged annual increases in October.
Officials at Metrolink say certain e-bikes will soon be banned from GO trains. As of April 9th, the transit agency says e-bike batteries will only be permitted on board if they have a UL or CE certification. The ban will take effect amid concerns over the safety of micro-mobility devices that use lithium-ion batteries. An e-bike caught fire on a TTC subway car on New Year's Eve, causing injuries to the bike's owner. At the time, fire officials said it was the result of a faulty lithium-ion battery pack.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are back in action after a 4-day break.
Zone with Domi, rink wide, McKee bouncing in. John Tavares on the doorstep.
The Leafs last played Saturday night when they beat Montreal 3-2. Tonight, they're in Philadelphia. The Flyers are coming off a 3-2 win over San Jose on Tuesday.
Still to come, AI is changing the way we do a lot of things. And now researchers from the University of Guelph are adding harvesting produce to that list. We'll have the details after the break.
Harvesting tomatoes could soon get easier with the helping hand of a robot.
University of Guelph researchers are pairing artificial intelligence with a gripping system to analyze how to gather them. CTV's Spencer Turcott shows us the creation more than 10 years in the making.
Artificial intelligence is coming for our tomatoes, but it comes in peace. A yellow-armed smart robot developed out of the University of Guelph uses AI-powered vision.
It can actually see the tomatoes on the vine.
And grips to secure the tomato and pick it. Getting a robot to do such a task isn't so straightforward. A greenhouse is considered a hostile work environment.
The objects that you are dealing with are fragile objects. These plants are actually hanging literally by a thread.
With little room for error, why put a robot in this position if humans are so good at it?
We have a labor shortage when it comes to working in agriculture. At the same time, the entire agriculture industry is facing an aging problem.
A recent report from the Canadian Agriculture Human Resource Council predicts 1/3 of the agricultural workforce will retire by 2030, meaning more than 100,000 jobs will need to be filled. So that's where the tomato picking robot comes in.
And of course, the robot can work longer hours and stuff like that.
Going from prop to crop has seen success. It's been put to the test at greenhouses in Millgrove and Leamington. Now work is underway to make improvements.
The challenge is to do all of this to match human cycle. Human cycle is 6 seconds per harvest. Okay? We have now here a system that is successful in terms of picking up these beefsteak tomato, but at 18 seconds. So the next stage is to bring it all the way lower to, say, 8 seconds.
The robot also analyzes the health of every plant and feeds the information back to a database to optimize the whole operation. Next, researchers want to train the robot to pick up peppers and strawberries, but for now, it's laser focused on tomatoes. So if this robot sees red, it's likely a good thing. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Guelph.
What will they think of next?
I don't know, but I'm feeling like a tomato salad right about now.
Honestly. Yeah, I'm just thinking about vegetables now. But I'll get back to thinking about the forecast. You can see the water behind us. It is getting a little bit choppy out there. Things are picking up. Just be careful heading out tonight. It is going to be one of those nights, especially on the roads, that it gets a little bit challenging when we have some potting and pooling. We are in the thick of it, the meat and potatoes, not the tomatoes of this forecast. And it is going to continue as we head through the rest of our evening. So just take your time on the roads. But temperature-wise, it's not terrible. We're still relatively mild, all things considered, sitting at 7 here in the city. Now, around home tomorrow, nearing the end of March break, still mild, not brilliantly sunny, but hey, I'll take it. And as we head in towards the weekend, although it does cool down, it's not a bad way to wrap up the March break.
All right. Thank you, Jess. Be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Altman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica and all of us at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a good night.
See you at 11:30.